But he goes, your accent's horrible. You're clearly new. You're clearly green. You have zero experience. You need better pictures. You need training. But he goes, I'll tell you, if you were to pursue this, he goes, maybe there's something. And I can't guarantee none of that. And that was sort of the first breadcrumb from the kingdom of heaven in my eyes, where I was like, maybe I should try this.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Today's host is Jaclyn Witt.
Hey, you're listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast. My name is Jaclyn, and today I've got Jesse Hutch with me. Jesse Hutch, born in the same province as the comic book character Wolverine, is an actor, director, and stuntman whose 24-plus year career spans network television, action-packed films, and heartfelt family stories. Best known for his roles in Homestead as a Green Beret, Batwoman as the DC villain known as Menace, and upcoming feature film about Abraham Lincoln playing a Navy officer, and multiple romantic comedy leads. Jesse brings grit, charm, and authenticity to every performance. Off-screen, he's a devoted husband, father of 3, and advocate for faith, fitness, and personal growth. Whether he's performing stunts, directing behind the camera, or creating content rooted in values and adventure, Jesse's passion for storytelling is matched only by his commitment to inspiring others. He currently lives in Tennessee, balancing Hollywood and the kingdom of heaven. Welcome to the podcast, Jesse.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's quite the intro. I'll take it.
Right? I know. I was thinking this is going to be really fun. I mean, I love talking to a fellow Canadian, for one. There's not too many of us here.
Amen to that. Got to start somewhere, right? Everybody's from somewhere.
That's right. But I think some of the best comedians, some of my favorites anyways, are from Canada. So I think that we make our mark on the film industry, even if it's just here and there, we're there.
Yeah. Well, I always joke, I'm sick of all the Canadian Ryans taking all the jobs. So Ryan Gosling, Ryan Reynolds. And then, of course, we got Jim Carrey, Rick Moranis. I mean, the list goes on, and you're just like, all right.
Oh, yeah.
It's my turn. Let me do some comedy, guys.
There we go. Yeah. And then, of course, Jesse Hutch comes along. So now you're taking over some of those roles. I see you have like a lot of leads in like romantic comedies and stuff like that. Okay, let's back up and see. I mean, growing up in Canada, unfortunately, it's not as easy to break into film there. But how did you get your start?
Oh, man, that's always a great question, because I was not on the trajectory of joining or getting myself into the entertainment industry. When I was a kid, I loved watching movies, and I collected posters. That was my thing. So beyond that, never, ever, ever was interested in film or television as far as making it, creating it, being in it, being an actor. Never crossed my radar. There was one time that I had to do a play in high school, but that was because it was like forced. It was like part of us having to get part of our mark. My shop teacher all of a sudden became interested in theater and was like, all right, well, part of your shop mark is if you guys come and help me out in the theater program, then, we'll bump your mark on the shop side. And I was like, what? Like, what?
That's funny.
I already had like a 99 in shop. I think it was the best class I ever had in my life. And so anyway, I went over and I did one play, and I was like, okay, but that was it. I wasn't like, oh my goodness, I'm inspired. It was just, I did it and I was done. And so, long story short, what ended up happening was I was a professional whitewater raft guide. I was going to college for outdoor tourism and business, and I actually drowned to death when I was 21. So when I recovered from that, which was very quick, it was an absolute miracle that I survived, a miracle that I could walk and talk. My eardrums weren't completely blown. I did collapse a few of my like kind of breathing tubes and wind tubes, but it wasn't anything that was like life-threatening per se. And so when I came out of that experience, I was immediately impacted in the way that I started questioning everything. I was like, well, why am I here? Why do I exist? What am I using my life for? What do you want me to do, Lord? And that turned my life around quite quickly. And it was honestly an ad that I heard on the radio. I was working in the kitchen of the same whitewater rafting company. It was called Wilderness Tours. It's on the Ottawa River. And I was in the kitchen picking up an extra shift to make a little extra money. And I heard this ad on the radio, and it was like for this sort of money grab situation called Model Search America. And I was never interested in modeling. But as the ad was going on, it said, you can meet Wilhelmina models and blah, blah, blah models and blah models. And then eventually it said, and maybe meet the casting director from 20th Century Fox. And I was like, whoa, they have cool movies. I've collected their posters. Huh, that's cool. I'm just going to go to this thing. And I went. I literally left work that minute. I skipped out on the rest of my shift and I just left. I didn't even care if they fired me or not. I just felt somehow led that I was supposed to go to this event. I went there and it was quite theatrical and comedic in some ways because I was just this farm town boy who was spending a lot of time outside. I was quite tanned, in pretty good shape from being on the river every day. And I show up and there's all these, modelly folks that are definitely blowing me out of the water when it comes to like looks and wardrobe. And they got their pictures and they got their hair did and they're just like rocking it. And I'm like jeans and t-shirt, probably have my flip-flops on. I'm rolling in there and I just got in line and waited in line like everybody else and eventually made it to a bigger convention, which you have to pay to attend. That's where I was like, really? You got to pay for this thing? Okay, whatever. Never done anything like this. Did it. That was in Rochester, New York. And ultimately, I got what I guess was called a callback. And the casting director at 20th Century Fox actually called my number and I went and met this guy. And I did an audition for him, which I didn't know what an audition was. And so I had a crazy, wild Canadian accent. My pictures were horrible. I had no wardrobe that was worth anything. And I went and did this audition for Christian Kaplan was his name. And he's now, I believe, the head of casting for 20th Century Fox. He still works there. And he might even be the president of the company at this point. I'm not sure his official job title. But regardless, at the end of my sort of audition with him, he just looked at me and was like, where are you from? And I was like, Eganville, Ontario. And he's like, where's that? I'm like, it's in Canada. And he's like, okay, whatever. He goes, I'm not going to guarantee anything because this is one of the toughest businesses that exists. But he goes, your accent's horrible. You're clearly new. You're clearly green. You have zero experience. You need better pictures. You need training. But he goes, I'll tell you, if you were to pursue this, he goes, maybe. And he goes, there's a small maybe there's something. But he goes, it's up to you. And I can't guarantee none of that. And that was sort of the first breadcrumb from the kingdom of heaven in my eyes, where I was like, maybe I should try this. And that just led to another thing, which led to another thing, which led to me moving to the West Coast. Eventually started to learn how to audition.
I love that he gave you like the tools. Like he didn't just say, this is a really hard business to get into. You've got a ton of work to do. He actually like laid out, this is the work that you would need to do. And then he was real with you and said, it's still going to be a really tough go at this, but if you want to do it, this is what you need to do. And I love when people actually give like that concrete, practical kind of advice and direction for people.
Yeah, he ended up being, we still text once in a while. I've never officially worked for him, but I'm very thankful for sort of his beginning because he had something. He said, hey, stay in touch with my office. Let me know if you're training. Let me know what you're doing. And ultimately became quite a pillar, sort of speak, in my early stages of getting into this career, and was an advocate and sort of cheered me on, and in a way that was, very real. He just put it to me straight, like, you have zero experience, your accent's horrible, like, you got work to do. And so I went and did the work. I started putting in the time and the effort and the energy. I ended up moving to the West Coast, to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I had checked into Toronto, just didn't feel like the right place for me to go at that point. I have also always loved mountains. I love the outdoors. So Vancouver just kind of drew me a lot quicker. And that allowed me to just really quickly get into, okay, I'm very technically driven. So I was quite attracted to camera work and cameras and how do you use them and eye lines and why does it matter and what does it look like and what's it feel like? And so that sort of was enough to keep me invested, keep me learning, keep me growing. And of course, I'm still doing that. It's been 25 years of learning and growing, and I still have so much to learn. It's crazy how much you can learn in this business.
Well, the learning never stops, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces to the pie.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I think whether I read it in your bio or we just had a different conversation at some point, are you also getting into production as well?
Yeah, so about 15 years ago, I started writing scripts with a good brother in Christ of mine. His name's Don McLeod. He's from the sort of musician background. Him and I just started writing scripts because we were like, hey, one day IP is going to be needed. And only now are we starting to pursue those scripts, actually. But we have about 24 projects on a pitch deck.
That's a big pitch deck.
It is. Of those 24, we have 11 that we've really kind of honed in on. And of those 11, we have maybe 4 or 5 that are kind of, just rising to the surface right now. People are kind of interested. There's talk, but it's a lot of work. It's constant getting on phones and Zooms and just having conversations and trying to find the right investors, the right sort of means of distribution. And so, yeah, I also love directing. That's kind of one of my passions is I just love telling story. And so I've been so blessed and honored to have stood on the mark. And there's this sort of hierarchy in the business where if you're the lead actor, they don't really kick you off the mark. They might pleasantly ask you to get out of the way, right? If work's happening. And I mean, you have to discern that, like get out of the way if you're in the way. But generally, I'm just saying, hey, they usually don't kick you out and you get to stand there and listen if you want. So you can stand there and listen and pay attention and talk to people. And I learned that early on. And I was like, wow, I get to talk to that director of photography who worked on X-Men. Like, that's crazy. I want to go ask him, what was it like? What kind of cameras did you use? What kind of film? Why do you move that dolly? What's going on? What's that equipment called? I start learning from the grips. I start learning about gels and different color schemes and lighting. And, I start talking to the focus puller and I'm trying to figure out, how fast can you do this or that? I started doing stunts early on. And that's something that I've been really dialed into. I love being physical and active. And so eventually I got into editing. I was helping shoot people's weddings. I was getting hired by churches to shoot videos for them. And so I've just found throughout the years that there's all these skills. And I'm like, Lord, what do you want me to do with all this? I can't wear all these hats, but yet I love trying the hats on.
Mm-hmm.
And now as I've gotten along in this career a lot further, I realize, it's like God wants me to understand how this machine works. He wants me to honor and respect people. And he wants me to be able to place people where they will thrive. And so as a director, that's my approach is, all right, that man, that woman, that person, whatever their skill set is let's set up a playing field that these people really thrive in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you, there's nothing better than being able to place somebody where they love to be.
Exactly.
Giving them creative space to be creative. And understanding their job does not mean that I hold it over them and I micromanage them. It means I understand what I'm not going to ask you to do, right? I'm going to be appropriate with where we're going to use your skill sets. And
I find too, it helps me to even respect the work more when I have a degree of understanding about it. And then I see that this person has really honed in on that skill. It opens up that degree of respect even more. And even for myself, as a writer, the more that I've learned about it, the more that I've realized, oh, there's still a lot more to learn, and that part never goes away. But I love what you're saying, when you can see something in someone and you can put them in a place where they can just shine and where everybody's doing something that they were designed to do, the whole thing it flows not only with an ease or skill, but with joy.
Yeah. So right now I've been wearing a lot of the hat of find financing, find distribution. I do not enjoy that hat. So I have a definite respect and honor for those people who can do that well. So if there's anyone out there who wants to put that hat on and would love to just be the financer distribution person, I'm all ears because I definitely thrive and do a lot better on the ground. You put me in the trenches, you put me on set for 14 hours a day, turn the stress on, and that's when I actually calm and chill out and become focused.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to help people bring their visions to life.
Absolutely.
Take your media mountain with Content Christian Media Conference. Join hundreds of filmmakers, actors, screenwriters, podcasters, and authors on September 22nd to 26th at the 40-acre Christian Film Studio, Capernaum Studios in Poolville, Texas. New this year, hands-on training in acting, writing, cinematography, editing, AI, VFX, and more. Grow in your craft with over 45 workshops. Also new this year, a full-day networking event specifically designed to help you make meaningful connections, grow your community, and build your team. Christian Media Conference has a 5-star rating. Go to christianmediaconference.com and discover the long list of world-class speakers, workshops, boot camps, and more. That's christianmediaconference.com.
But I'll tell you, it's so cool when you get to witness. This never gets old for me in the film industry. Those moments on set when it's action and the scene takes place and let's say I'm in the actor role. Well, I'm doing my thing and I'm working with other actors and they're doing their thing. And we're sort of playing metaphorical cards with someone else's writing, and we're passing things back and forth, and there's things happening. And then you can literally feel the focus puller. Like you can feel the camera move. Like I know that if the camera's doing a slow push in, the focus puller's slowly moving with that push in. And if the dolly's moving, that, has a certain speed that it's trying to match. And then as an actor and a performer, you don't step out of what you're doing, but you can be sort of aware in this sort of like third party world, if I can call it that, where you feel that and you know it's happening. So now you're trying to like find your light and make sure that you honor everyone else's job and make sure you hit your mark and find your light and don't block your other actor's light. And yet all at the same time, you're not aware of any of that. And you're fully enveloped in this character and just telling this story right now in this moment. And when they say cut and all of a sudden it's like everybody was just dancing together, it's like one of the coolest feelings on the planet where you're just like, yeah, like that was sick.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, it's like some of my best memories are just literally scenes, just talking to others and being in it and everybody's working together. And I mean, and this includes everybody who may be sitting over there now, right? It could be the hair and makeup team. It's the set dressing. It's the special effects team. It's the visual effects team. There's smoke coming out of the ground. There's somebody putting fog into the air. I don't know. There's just so many cool things to this career that I love and I have such a passion for it. And it just makes me think of the Bible because it's filled with stories. And I'm going, wow,
Yeah.
Lord, like even with all this technology, with all the developments that we've had in life since Jesus Christ walked the earth, I get to be a part of storytelling. And that's what Jesus did. He just told stories. And like some of them were
Yeah.
just like quite known to people. It was like, hey, you have someone who's walking around with seeds and they're planting them. This is what happens to the seeds. But now to be able to be a part of that sort of modern day storytelling, we gather around the digital fire.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's one of the only mediums that you can bring in a plumber and a single mom and a married couple and people that are just in different political arenas and have totally different opinions on society. And yet they could all go into a movie theater and sit down and watch one movie. And all their hearts are connected to this one thing. And man, it's one of the only mediums that you can do that. There's not very many places that you can put up a sign and say, hey, we're having a liberal party and like, oh, the Democrats show up, But if you have a movie, you don't know who's going to show up. Anybody could show up.
Right. Yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't matter age, race, financial status. They just show up. And so I don't know. I think it's a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah, it really is. And it's one of those things where being alive during this time in history is like, it really is unlike anything else. The technology that we have, the ability to create the films and distribute them like all over the world, because it's not even like what you were saying, all of that is true. But then also, you can have that happen in countries that you may never even visit in your lifetime. And people can watch your project and you may never get to meet them. Like, it just boggles my mind because for so many centuries, millennia, art was one of those things that had to be experienced live in person. And with film, we have this ability to send it out and for it to have its own life and its own journey. And we don't even meet or interact with the vast majority of the people who will actually watch the film.
Yeah, very true. The work that we do is it's separated from many people and it's a box. And that is weird. It's so weird that we live in this box and we think we know what people are going to enjoy and we create something and we're all like, there's hundreds of us that are a part of this, in some cases, thousands. And yet we have no connection to the audience until we put it out there. And even then, sometimes you're not connected. I mean, I'll get messages on social media and stuff like that, but there's so many people that, like you said, they're dubbing me over in Poland right now, probably. And I have no idea who's watching that.
Yeah.
It's like, what do I sound like in Polish? I want to hear that.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and there's even technology now that can do that. I don't know, how much the film industry is moving in that direction. I know it is, but the AI ability to take your voice and translate it into another language, but it's still your voice. It's not like dubbing, and they can even make their mouths match the words in the other language. Like, the technology is absolutely insane right now. But it's cool, and I know some people are nervous about it, but I think that it really will come down to having, guidelines that will serve everyone involved. But yeah, I mean, how amazing would it be for you to actually not only have your voice in Polish, your mouth moving in Polish, like people will think that you speak Polish.
Well, I am Ukrainian, but
hmm
I used to speak French. But just growing up in Canada, it was mandatory for us. But
Yeah, I remember. I only know words. I don't know enough to actually have conversations, but I know the words because, in Canada, everything's labeled in both languages, so you pick stuff up.
yeah,
Well, this has been a really fun conversation, and I'm looking forward to talking more with you in our next episode. As we finish off this episode, I just want to give you an opportunity to let people know where they can find you or find your films or the best way to connect with you and what you do.
Instagram's probably my main social media thread. If you have IMDb Pro and you really want to reach out to me on a professional level, then I have information on there. And then as far as projects go, I mean, it was just announced today in the Hollywood Reporter from Angel Studios that Homestead is officially greenlit the rest of filming of season 1 and season 2. So we go to camera probably in July.
Wow.
And then I'm also working on another project that hasn't been announced yet. So I don't know how to share that one yet.
They'll have to just follow you on Instagram.
I know, but I am working on it right now. So they're sort of flying me in and out of Canada, actually.
Nice.
So that I can say that one does film in Canada. And so, yeah, there's a few irons in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And until then, I am just hustling on working on a Christmas comedy that I wrote that I'd really love to film. A science fiction action movie that's quite giant that I would love to get on the roster. And then I have 2 series that we're sort of trying to develop. One will be in the kid space and another one will be in sort of a Bad Boys meets Lethal Weapon, but it's family friendly space.
All right.
And so I just think people need to laugh. I think action's fun and amazing. I love old music and cars. And so any opportunity to bring that stuff to life for people.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to talking with you more in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you've been enjoying this podcast, take a moment to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to support the production of this podcast, you can leave a tip at faffpodcast.com/support. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.